Hi everyone, Lisa Haven here. Well, despite everything that is happening right now with the United States election, I have some good news that I wanted to share with you guys. Now, we're all worried about how the election's going to go with the mainstream media calling the presidency for Joe Biden. Keep in mind, it's not over yet. I am very hopeful. There is legal battles that are taking place in Arizona and Nevada and Pennsylvania. Not to mention, we have recounts that have been called for Wisconsin and Georgia. So there's still a lot of things at play. Although it is looking good for Joe Biden, I don't want you guys to lose hope. And there's even more things that I have to share with you right now, because there is some good to this. And the truth of the matter is, even mainstream media is now admitting that the Democrats, despite what's going on with Joe Biden, have massive, massive losses. Now, here's what I'm talking about. I'm going to actually take you to the report and get into detail on all of this. But this is on dailymail.co.uk. Joe Scarborough, right, who is the host of Morning Joe on MSNBC, calls the election result an absolute repudiation of the Democratic Party as a brand. That's pretty strong. And says that Biden's win will be a one-off. He goes on to say that he made the remarks on his show Friday morning and said that if Joe wins the presidency, it looks like it could be a one-off, as in he's there, but he doesn't have much power because of everything else. And he goes on to cite poor Democratic performances in the House and Senate, and I'm going to get into that. He argued that they needed to reassess their brand, and he says it doesn't work across America, and he followed soul searching from other liberal figures as their blue wave just went up in smoke, right? So there we have it. So what is he talking about in regards to the House and Senate races nationwide? Well, let's focus first on what's going on in the Senate. So I'm going to take you here. And this is on ballotpedia.org. And this is a lot of good news that I'm going to be sharing from here on out. And I think it is all great news that's going overlooked. But it says a total of 470 seats in the United States Congress were up for election on November 3rd. This includes 35 in the Senate. There's a total of 100 that are in the Senate, but only 35 of them were up for grab. And then, of course, all 435 House seats, which go up for re-election every 2 years. So there's kind of the basic breakdown. But let's focus on these 35 Senate seats that were up for grab. All right, so here we are. In the U.S. Senate, this election season, we had 12 Democrat seats that were up for the take and 23 Republican seats. Now, I want you to notice something about that number, is the Republican seats that were up for grab were nearly double that of the Democrats. So the Democrats were expecting a massive win over the Republicans, and they were expecting to seize the House, no problem at all, because so many Republican seats were up for grab. But America put a little stunt in their plans, if you will, and guess what? It looks like we're still going to keep the Senate, and it all hinges on Georgia. I'm going to get on that in a moment, but it looks like we're still going to keep it, despite the fact that there were far more seats in the Republican side that were up for the taking. This means, okay, I know it looks on the surface as, oh, Democrats are winning, but not really. Not really, because look how many Republican seats were up for the take, and look what we still have. Let's go on over to what's going on with the election. You can see here, we have 30 seats not up for election, and we have 35 not up for election. So automatically, based off of taking out the election, we automatically have Democrats in the lead by 35 and GOP with 30, right? Based off of election, you have a higher lead there on the Democrats. But despite that, we are still taking what it looks like we're still going to be one seat over. So here, thus far, the ones that aren't called, let's look at those. We have North Carolina leaning Republican there with Tillis. We also have Georgia. This is the one that everybody's eyeing, because we have Purdue, who shows ahead, and I believe they're going to do a recount there, or they are doing a recount, and then Warnock, who shows ahead. So one Democrat seat, even if you add the one Democrat seat, that would only put them to 49, but then it again hinges on Warnock. And then Alaska, we've got that Sullivan thus far going to the Republicans. So it looks like everything's headed in the Republican direction, with exception to the one seat there in Georgia, which we don't need. If Warnock takes that one, we don't necessarily need it, but we definitely need Purdue to gain it. And so that's the one that everybody's focusing on. But Thus far, I believe we are going to take the seat. I have hope that that is the case, but that's what's going on. And it looks like we're going to keep the majority thus far in the Senate. Now, here's the other thing that I want to throw at you is elections, right? There's going to be another election for 34 seats, the class 3 there in the Senate, that is going to be held in 2022. So come 2022 election, we have 34 more seats in the Senate that are going to be up for grabs. And as far as I remember, and I'm going off the top of my head, more of those are Democrats, right? So if more Democrat seats are up for the taking, then it's very likely that we're going to hold the Senate even after 2022. This is a huge win for us. Huge win for us. And that's looking like that's going to happen, which would make, if Joe Biden were to get in, right, which would make him a one-off president because he doesn't have the power of the Senate. So it's very, very critical to everything that's going on. Let's look at the House, right? Let's look at the House. We know all 435 seats in the U.S. House were up for re-election. Every 2 years, they're up for re-election. So come 2022, we've got that also, right? Moving on a little bit, here is what it now looks like according, and this is the Politico chart, and it says Democrats have kept the House but are unlikely to expand their majority despite their predictions of another blue wave. And as you can see, it currently sits at 215 for the Democrats, 196 for the Republicans. If you add all these leaning ones in, I believe that puts the GOP somewhere around 212 and the Democrats somewhere around, these are off the top of my head, like 222-ish, 223-ish, something like that. But either way, Democrats are still ahead. However, they have lost a massive amount of seats, no longer giving them that majority. Let me show you. Currently, we had 232 Democrats and 197 Republicans. Change that to the numbers today. This skyrocketed by at least 10 to 15 some odd people there as Republicans. That's a huge win for us in the House. And here's this Washington Times article. GOP takes victory lap as Democrats' House majority shrinks despite their bluster for blue wave. And it says it estimates for their anticipated sweep, which ranged from a net gain of 10 to 15 seats for the Republican Party. And I think we're looking more at that 15 number. This is huge for the Republican Party, right? But moving on a little bit, the other thing that Joe was calling out in this article on the dailymail.com about the absolute repudiation of the Democratic Party is the fact that they also didn't really do anything in the state legislature. So let's go to that little section, and I'm going to quote him here. He says, Joe also noted that Democrats failed to flip control of a single state legislator, giving Republicans a powerful upper hand in redrawing congressional districts in the next term, something that occurs every 10 years. This is a massive win for the Republican Party because here's the thing. We get to draw those congressional district lines, who in what city has, what little district, and you can tweak that to your Republican control or your Democratic control. It's the beauty of our system, depending on who's in charge, right? But it lasts for 10 years. 10 years. Occurs every 10 years. And this is massive for our state legislative district, which is, by the way, Republican controlled, and they failed to flip control of a single state legislator. Let's pop on over to that map up here. And here we are, election results, state legislature, chamber of commerce here. We've got 86 of the 99 state legislative chambers across 44 states held general elections on November 3rd, basically for the state legislature there. And you can see here, and it kind of gives more detail there. You could read through it. Was there a change? Yes or no? This is pre-election. This is post-election. So you can see some are still to be determined. We're waiting on those. We don't know yet, but thus far, you can see Republicans have taken a seat there in New Hampshire. So it's flipped to the Republican side, but none thus far for the Democratic Party, right? Now, let me scroll to give you actual percentages of what it looks like. It says, as of October 30th, Republicans controlled 52.07% of the state legislative seats nationally, while DEMS only held 46.8%. Republicans held majority in 59 chambers, and Dem only held it in 39 chambers. And now with this election, seems like we're getting even bigger, right? So that's a massive win in our state legislature. So while things may not look good with Biden and everything else, as MSM, Morning Joe says, right? He could be a one-off and be stuck doing nothing. I don't know about you, but we're going to die tax-wise. If Joe Biden's policies were to go forward, it would kill all our small businesses. We'd be gone, not to mention all the socialist policies, which I don't even want to get into some of that. But if we've got that control in other areas, this is a massive move against him, whether he's a one-off or not, right? So there are things that I want you to be hopeful for despite what's going on in the presidential election, because look, the president doesn't have all the power. It's split between houses, and we still have to absolutely keep that in mind. As a reminder, please don't forget to check out my partner at noblegoldinvestments.com. I know I say it a lot, but I absolutely mean it. I partnered with them because I truly believe in what they have to offer. And with our economy at the state that is at, I hope you already have. But if not, convert your 401k into something backed by gold, silver, and precious metals. And right now, you get this amazing 22 karat 1/10 ounce gold coin here, and this is an American Eagle gold coin, and it's with any approved IRA. So give them a call today and check them out at noblegoldinvestments.com. Anyhow, I love all of you. Please make sure you are subscribed to the channel. They like to remove subscriptions, and make sure you have that bell clicked. Thanks again for tuning in. I'm Lisa Haven, signing out.